Hello and welcome to the Avonlea Chronicles, a knitting podcast. My name is Martha and we're here to talk about all things knitting. It's been 2 weeks since I did my first podcast and I finally finished my Idlewild shawl or Idlewild wrap. It took a little bit longer than expected because I got hung up on this beautiful section. I don't know if you can see, they look like little butterflies. I got hung up on that section. So what happened was when I was looking for a butterfly like lace stitch pattern, I found this pattern on Pinterest, which is not normally where I look for patterns, but when I was Googling, it came up and I saw the image, went onto Pinterest, looked at it. It was an image of lace and then there was a little chart, but it was all written in like Russian or Ukrainian or some sort of Slavic language. So printed out that. Then I Googled like Russian knitting lace chart symbols and I got a legend of lace symbols for Eastern Europe. Then I went to Google Translate and I translated it. And then I got what all the symbols meant. And this is actually a super easy pattern. What was hard was figuring out the math to make the butterflies sit nicely on top of one another, but like offset so that they're, you know, this one on top is perfectly centered between these two, and have it work out for the edge as well. So what originally happened on these little rows was I did like the first row and then the second one I ended with like half of a butterfly, and it was working out really weird. And so when I went to do this big section, I ended up writing out like 25 to 30 rows, and I was like, there has got to be a way that this works out, that they just nicely fit on top of one another, offset, and it's not that complicated. And I ripped it out and it really wasn't that complicated. It's a 4-row repeat and all I had to do was repeat the last 4 rows. So I made it super easy. And then doing this last little bit was super fast and easy, and then it was done. So it is now released. You can buy the pattern on Lovecrafts, Ravelry, and my website. And I hope you enjoy knitting it. I used, I think I said it last week, I used one full skein and then like a third of a skein of main color. And then my 3 solid colors, I split a full 100-gram skein into a 50-gram skein, and I used the full 50 for this color, the butterflies, and then I didn't quite use a full 50 for the green and the purple. But it'd be a great scrappy project. The rows that repeat are pretty short, and yeah, I can't wait to see if you knit it. Please tag me in it. You can also shorten the length really easily by like taking out, you know, a section of these rows, or just shortening the section by not doing as many repeats. So that is done. I'm so excited that it's finished. The next thing that I've been working on are these cute little pumpkins. I knit some bunting last year for a friend and colleague, and so they're hanging up in her classroom. And the kids, they were in grade 1 last year. They loved, one class of grade 1s loved hearing about my knitting. And so some of those kids are now in her class, and they have a knit pumpkin in their classroom. And so one of the kids came up and asked me, Miss Wood, did you make that pumpkin? And I said, no, but would you like me to make you some for the class? And they said yes. So here's the first one. This one you knit flat, you seam it up, and then you stuff it and pull the yarn through to make the little sections. I did not enjoy knitting it flat. I will be quite honest. So, whoops. I decided to just switch it to knit in the round. I'm just doing the same thing. It was knit 6, purl 1. So when I'm done getting the height that I need, I'll take a super long tail and I will thread it through the live stitches, stuff the pumpkin. I will bring that yarn through to cinch up the top, and then I will add some little crocheted stems. I have 2 different colors of green, and this is the wool that I chose. It's just Walmart's Mainstays brand of acrylic. It's for the kids. There was a bigger ball. This was like $4 Canadian. There was a bigger ball of Bernat that was really nice tonal orange, but it was $11 and I did not need a huge ball. So this is what we went for. It's just kind of fun. So I'm hoping to finish another pumpkin tomorrow. And yeah, probably make just 3 or 4 for them. But yeah, they're gonna love it. Next up is a new pattern. Sorry, my brother is doing some drywall work and my windows are closed, but it's so dusty. It's on the wall that I'm facing. He's doing it on his side. This is the Le Triangle Granny crochet shawl by Amy Gill. She has a yarn company called La Vie Anime. It's French, but people don't pronounce the name right. So it's just a basic crocheted granny triangle shawl. I have pulled out a bag of nice scraps. There's like Anne of Green Gables in here, stuff from my Libe Lou shawl. So I'm going to pull together some colors to crochet this shawl, just because. So yeah, that's what I'm gonna work on. I am pulling out, this is the step-by-step cardigan. I've knit the step-by-step pullover. It was super easy. This is just a basic raglan. It's knit and worsted weight. I have a whole sweater quantity. I started this in the spring and it's actually, I have a wrist injury that I've been healing since 2017. So, knitting with this thicker wool and it's like wool, it's woolly wool. So it's a little bit stickier, not as easy to knit with for me as like a superwash merino. Plus it's thicker and heavier, so I can only do like 6 rows at a time. But I started this in the spring and then it just got way too hot to be working with anything this heavy. So, and it's still been so warm, but now that it's starting to cool down, I am going to keep working on this. Part of me feels like, oh, it's kind of a shame that I don't have it done for fall, but it's been hot as like summer days here. So I'm actually like not sad because it's been too hot to wear anything this thick. So I will have something nice and cozy for the winter to wear. But I'm super excited to get working on this again. And I'm just going to take it a little bit at a time because I don't want to hurt my wrist. Okay, the next thing is my beloved Anne of Green Gables Mystery Sock Club, which was a collab between the Kitchen Sink Shop and Pine and Pearl. I have already finished. I don't know that I want to share this pattern yet. But I've already finished the first skein, and this is how much I have left. So if you read my patterns, I haven't ever put it in my pattern, but like when you do a gauge, some people keep their gauge swatches, and some designers allot like yardage in there for you to make your gauge swatch and then keep it. I don't. This is all that's left of the first color. So this is color number 2. This is Gilbert, and this colorway is Diana. This is a cashmere sock base. Oh my gosh, and it's so good. I started striping yesterday to go from the Anne colorway into the Gilbert, and actually before I was sent the yarn, I took a picture, or I took a screenshot of a picture, because the kitchen sink shop and Pine and Pearl had released the colors of the colorways so we could see them. So I'd taken a screenshot from Instagram of the 3 yarns, and then I went into my photos, edited it, and put the filter onto black and white so that you could see the contrast. So when I looked at it, like, you would think there's not a lot of contrast between Anne colorway because there's quite a bit of green, and Gilbert because it's also a lot of green. But actually there is a lot of contrast with this Gilbert colorway, and there's not a lot of contrast between Anne and Diana. So it's actual, and at first when I was starting to stripe it yesterday, I thought, oh, like there's not a lot of contrast, but actually now that all my stripes are done and I'm just getting into the Gilbert colorway, there is actually quite a bit of contrast. But if you're ever looking to see if 2 colors will work for a colorway, or color work, putting your phone camera onto the black and white filter will give you a really good visual, because like when I see this on black and white, there is no contrast between these 2, but there's a huge amount of contrast with Gilbert, between Gilbert and Anne and Gilbert and Diana. And so it's actually perfect for my shawl to keep them in the order that the patterns are coming out, which is Anne, Gilbert, Diana. So that's a little handy tip if you, yeah. And I actually use it a lot when picking out colors for things, especially if it's color work. Putting the filter onto black and white to see if there's high contrast will be really, really helpful. This is a top-down triangle shawl. This is one of those times where I recorded and then I totally forgot something, so I've re-recorded. So this is a top-down triangle shawl with very easy lace. It's top-down triangle, so it's got like sort of a line down the middle. And sometimes what I've done when I've done top-down triangles is like I do the pattern, I get to the middle, and then I mirror exactly what I've done. Other times I do the pattern, get to the middle, and then I just copy the same pattern on the other side. So it's not it's not mirrored, but the sections are exactly the same. With this pattern, it's very easy lace, 2 rows of eyelets. The only thing was I had to write out every single row. It's a 48 row repeat, but don't get scared. The pattern is like a 6 row repeat, but because of the way of the math working out and getting the little eyelet patterns to alternate nicely, like one, you know, so you have like 2 pattern repeats, and then you want the next one to be, you have like the 2 patterns, the 2 little lace, whatever they are, they're like clovers or something. Then on the next row, you want the next ones to go in the middle. So to do that, I had to shift it a little bit and write the pattern slightly differently, but the core of the pattern repeats are exactly the same. It's really just the math. and how many stitches you need to knit at the beginning and end of the row, but it's super easy to memorize. And I didn't really want it to be perfect. Anne's not perfect, so I didn't really want it to mirror itself when I got to the middle. So you're just, whatever you knit up to the middle point, you then hit the middle point, slip the marker, and you do the exact same thing down to the end. So it's pretty easy in that regard. I'm doing a little something different with Gilbert, but it's so easy. I can't wait to see how it all knits up. And I just don't know if I want to share it yet. I've taken some pictures, I've taken some videos, and right now I'm just enjoying knitting it. So yeah, I don't know what I'm going to do yet, but it's here and I'm working on it. I'm so excited about it. And I think that's all for my knitting. In terms of products on the website, I showed this last time. This is the cotton tote bag with my logo on it. I took the purple background off, so it's just really nice, clean logo. But I had also put the logo with my purple background onto a canvas tote bag. It has a gusseted bottom or a box bottom. It is bigger, sturdier, thicker, and I think they're like the same price. I had originally just posted these 2 bags on the website with the 2 different logos, but I have since put this logo without the purple background onto a canvas tote bag, and I put this logo with the purple background onto a cotton tote bag. So both versions of the logo are available in both bags. So yeah, highly recommend. This would be really great for a project like my sweater, just to throw in there, or a shawl, you know, throw a book, wallet, whatever in there. This one, great for yarn shopping, great if you were going to like a fiber festival, because it is a little bit bigger, it is sturdier, you can fit more in it. So yeah, they're available on my website. I think I should talk about what I'm wearing. This is the Souffle Top by Laura Penrose. It's a really easy to knit circular yoke pattern. This is knit in Malabrigo sock. The colorway is Impressionist Sky, and this is actually the exact same blue that I used on my sunflower shawl. I'm wearing a skirt, but I'm untucking my skirt for the sake of seeing the length of the top. I did not knit this like super cropped. It's a pretty good length. If I'm wearing trousers, it's got this beautiful ruffle on it, and this is really hard when you're like a one-woman show with one tripod. It's got the most beautiful keyhole neck, or keyhole design at the back with a button. I hope you could see that. I loved knitting this, and this ruffle, oh my gosh, it was only, so you do like a row of purl stitches, and then you go and pick up the purl stitches, and then to knit this little ruffle, it was only like 2 rows, and you increased like every other stitch, so you were always doubling. So I ended up with like 1,400 stitches on my needles, and then you have to bind off. And so that, it took me like 2 or 3 nights to bind off, because like you're binding off over 1,400 and some odd stitches. But it's so worth it. And then the rest of it is just really basic stockinette stitch. You could knit the sleeves as long as you want. You could knit it as long as you want. I like tucking it into a skirt, but it's also long enough that I could wear trousers or pants, dress pants, and it would be fine. So yeah, that's what I'm wearing. Also, I think it's an I-cord bind off on the neck, which is really nice. And then you go into continuing the I-cord a little bit so that you can make a little loop for your button. Now, my button is massive on the back. I had a much smaller button on there and it kept popping open because my loop for my button was too big and my button was too small. So just last night, I put a new button on, much bigger. When I had a friend at church do up my button for me this morning because I forgot to do it at home, I asked if the button was big enough. They said yes. So much happier with a bigger button. And really, once my hair grows, you won't see that cute little keyhole back in the button unless I have my hair up. But super cute. I highly recommend knitting this top. I love it. I did it in fingering weight, but I think it's a lace plus lace. So yeah, I think it's like lace plus lace, but like you use mohair for the top half. I don't like mohair, so I did mine all fingering weight and loved it. I think I finished it last year. But yeah, it's really great. Loved knitting this. Super easy. And as much as this was a pain to spend like 3 evenings binding it off, the ruffle is so worth it. So I think that that's everything for what I've been making. And now it's time to go into my little, I was going to say shawl parade, but it's more of like a design parade to continue to talk about and share my designs that I've done so far. So last time I shared my picnic in the garden, wildflowers, and sunflower shawl. I designed and knit all of those in the spring and summer of 2022. And then I went off to Germany to a work trip for the church. And I just thought, you know what, if those are the only 3 designs that I have, then that's it. I'll put them on Ravelry and maybe they'll sell. But I sort of didn't have any other pattern ideas. Didn't really think any more pattern ideas were going to come. And then lo and behold, a ton of pattern ideas came through. So I was in Germany for the World Council of Churches 11th assembly. So they meet every 7 years, and it's people from all over the world from their different churches that are part of the World Council of Churches coming to meet and worship together. And so I was really inspired by the logo. There's a cross, a circle, a dove, and some waves. And so originally I was sitting there and I was like sketching out this really nice asymmetrical triangle. And I had thought, okay, like I'll knit an asymmetrical triangle, start with a cross, do some eyelets. I found a stitch pattern called Flying Birds. And then I also found like a pattern with some waves on it. And I got this yarn from the yarn shop, and it had different colors in it, which you find in the logo. And I started knitting this asymmetrical triangle, and it just was not working out. It was also super hot, and this yarn was sticking, and it just wasn't working. And I didn't really have a ton of time to knit. Now, if I was just knitting something like those little pumpkins, I would have had lots of time to knit. But when you're designing something and you need to concentrate, you do not have as much time when you're like at a meeting and walking around and stuff. So I started, and then I left it, and then I came home, and I was putting away my stuff one of the first days that I was home. And all of a sudden it came to me, it was like, I need to make this into like a minister's stole instead, and it'll be so much easier. So that's what I did. And at my church we knit prayer shawls, but we also knit prayer squares. And so this is actually a prayer square. You've got to garter edge, and then the middle is stockinette, but then you do garter stitch in the shape of a cross. So that was representative of the cross. Then I continued on with the garter stitch edging on the sides, but I did some little eyelets to represent the circles. And then this pattern is called Flying Birds. So I did that, and then I did this pattern where you use slip stitches to represent the waves, because if you turn it sideways and you have this, you see the logo, you see their little waves. So I made it into a minister's stole instead. This one is mine, it's just like really short. I actually did one that's like double the length, so it's super long. And then I sent it to the World Council of Churches and gave it to them as like a gift. This pattern is free on Ravelry, Love Crafts, and my website because I wanted to share it. It has actually had the most downloads of all my patterns, and I had so many comments. It's had like 176 downloads, and I had so many comments of people saying, oh my goodness, thank you so much. I'm gonna knit this for my minister, or I know someone who's becoming a minister. So yes, this is a free pattern. So yeah, and really, if you didn't want any of the like if you just wanted to knit the cross a bunch of times, you could do that. Or you just wanted to do this, you could totally like change it up. But yeah, that was sort of my next pattern. I'm sharing these in order of when I release the patterns, because part of my head wants to go to the next pattern that I designed, but I actually haven't released it yet because I need to re-look at, I've started looking at the pattern again, because I need to write it a little bit differently. I had looked at it over the summer because I just wanted to make sure it was okay, and then I found a little mistake. So I was trying to reread the pattern in my knitting last night, and I have to ask my mom, but I think I'm going to change up something to make the pattern easier to read. But it's like I want to talk about that one, but I haven't released it yet. So I'm not sharing it yet, because I'm sharing these in order of like releasing them. Okay, next up that I designed was the Kathy's Garden cowl. This is just a DK one skein cowl pattern, and my mom is a gardener, so this was actually her Christmas present, except this one's mine. This is the one I knit. She had to knit her own. I just gave her the yarn and the pattern. So this, I just did a really basic seed stitch border, top and bottom. And then both of these patterns I found online. This, just a cute little flower pattern. And then this bigger pattern, this was also one of those, like, I found it on Pinterest, saw it online, saw the chart, and then had to read the chart. It took a little bit. It's got some really nice baubles, really nice eyelet leaves in the middle, really nice eyelets. I had to read the chart. I had to ask one of our knitting friends. I said, you got to keep this a secret, but I need help reading the chart. So she helped me read the chart. And yeah, this is what I came up with. There, all the instructions are written out. So yeah, this is just a really cute cowl for the winter or fall months and spring. So yeah, super cute, super just like nice and cozy, not too tight around your neck, but also not super loose. So yeah, that was my next one. It was pretty easy. It's really great if you just have that one skein lying around, or you want a gift for someone. This is it. And then the next pattern, I'm just doing 3 at a time. This is my gratitude shawl. So this was a very special pattern, and this was probably my quickest pattern to ever go from just like concept to finished product. The week of Easter 2022, I really helped out my friend and colleague at work. And so this was on like a Wednesday, and on the Thursday, she gave me a bag and it had a bar of soap in it, like a massive bar of goat's milk soap. And she's like, it has no fragrance, it has very minimal and clean ingredients, because she had remembered from the one time that I told her that I had really severe fragrance allergies, sensitive skin, allergies to all these things. So she gave me this really nice clean bar of goat's milk soap, no fragrance, nothing, and then 4 balls of Estelle Color Flow yarn. This is it, in this beautiful like navy and gray color. And she said I made sure it had high wool content, and it does. This wool is like 80% wool and like 20% nylon, and the only part that's nylon is like this tube that the wool is blown into. It's really hard to tell now that it's like knit up, but the wool isn't actually, like, it's not twisted, it's blown into like a tube. And so I had never knit with it before, so actually, like, on my prep and on my lunchtime, I'm like looking up this yarn to see like, well, what patterns have been made with it, like what could I do with it, because I had 4 skeins, and I'd never knit with this type of wool. It's like bulky, and I had thought I'm just gonna tuck it away and I'll save it. And so we leave for Easter weekend. I go to church, and like that Thursday night, this idea was starting to come through. And like, I'm not sitting, and like, this is where my friend has said it's a gift from God, because like, I really am not sitting down thinking, what am I going to design with this? So like Thursday night and into Friday morning, I thought a top-down triangle with eyelet stitches and just basic garter stitch and eyelets. And I came home from church on Good Friday, sat down, did a gauge swatch, and then I started knitting. And this is what came of it. It's big, but not that big. And it's so, because the wool is not spun and twisted, it's so light and so airy, but also so warm. So I started this on the afternoon of Good Friday, and I finished on the afternoon of Easter Sunday. And it's probably one of my favorite shawls, partly because, you know, a really good friend gave me the wool as a gift for helping them out in a time of need. But I also just love the simplicity of the garter stitch and the eyelets, my favorite top-down triangle pattern. So yeah, this would actually be a really great beginner project. And actually, so this was mine. And then last year, actually 2020, I said 2022, actually 2023. It's because school years and calendar years are different. Actually, this all happened this Easter of 2023. And so actually last summer of 2023, I bought, and this takes 4 balls of Estelle Color Flow. I bought 4 balls of Estelle Color Flow in a different color, and this same friend was going through something, so I knit her this shawl. I took it to the minister, had it blessed, put a little prayer shawl tag on it, and I gave it to her as a prayer shawl. So it really was like a full circle moment, because she had given me this wool and I had designed a pattern with it, and then I went and bought the same wool, different color, knit my design that I had made from her gift and gave it to her as a prayer shawl. And when I gave it to her, she cried. And yeah, so and partly the reason for just doing something really simple was when I looked at the Estelle website and I looked at the color flow yarn, like they say that the colorways of the yarn give like a hand painted look, and so I really wanted to show off all of the colors and how they look knit up, because also like it's busy but it's not, and so like, you know, something with some detail might get lost in all of like the color changes that are naturally happening, because you see there's like little chunks of color at the start, but then it goes into more like stripes. So yeah, this is my favorite shawl actually. I love it. It actually like is permanently stays on my coat tree at my door. And I wore it like last summer so much. Like I went to a wedding and I was freezing cold, and I took it with me because the day we left for the wedding was, I had my own shawl that I designed for my outfit for the wedding, but like the other events at the wedding, I wore this because it was like a whole wedding weekend. I wore this the whole rest of the weekend because it was so cold. But yeah, it's one of my favorites and I love it. You could use any bulky wool really. I love the Estelle color flow. I love the color that I chose for my friend. So yeah, and these don't have color names. They just have weird numbers. So, and I also knit one of these for a silent auction because it knits up so fast. So yeah, this is, yeah, one of my designs called the Gratitude Shawl because I was really grateful and did not expect to get a gift for what I did at work. But I also know that my colleague was very grateful for what I did in their time of need. So yeah, this is the Gratitude Shawl, one of my favorites. And I love that this is so neutral, like it goes with anything, the navy and the gray, like love it. So yeah, that is 3 more on my little pattern design parade I'll have in 2 weeks. I'll be filming on my birthday actually. I will have another 3 patterns to talk about that I've already released, and hopefully I am sort of planning for, I want to say like maybe a December release of the pattern that I was talking about. I need to rework the pattern a little bit, and I need to get my mom just to like knit a swatch, I think, just to see if she can like read what I've written, because at this point I was having trouble reading what I wrote last night. I was having trouble reading what I wrote. So I need to rework it and then have my mom test it a little bit. So yeah, and then we'll see. Hopefully I'm going to get some, I'm working on a cross stitch too that I can't show because it's a gift. I don't know if this person watches my podcast. And then, yeah, so I'm working a little bit every day on my cross stitch, and then I'm working on my new design. I'm working on my sweater and the pumpkins and like lots of little things. But it's been a long weekend, so I've had lots of knitting time, and yeah, we'll see how much I get done, where it goes. At this point, I honestly might even have my next design with my Anne of Green Gables club finished for the next podcast, but I don't know yet. We'll have to see. And I don't know, I'll have to decide this week whether I want to share or not the pattern so far. But I'm loving knitting it. And yeah, if you have any questions, you can put them down below. I'm going to work on maybe some Christmas graphics for some shirts or bags. If you have any ideas for like Christmas holiday themed yarny things, put them in the comments below. And yeah, we will see you in 2 weeks for episode 3 of the Avonlea Chronicles.